What's up? It's Ben here. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through the path of how you go as a solo business owner, taking all your sales calls and how you get off of sales calls completely. Now, this is going to take at least 2 to 3 months minimum because there's a bit of work that has to go in place before you go out there and just find a closer and you bring them onto your team and they start closing for you. Now, if you're doing somewhere between 30 to 100K, this is most likely for you if you're a coach, agency owner, consultant. I mean, you can get to 100K per month by yourself by just brute force. Going beyond that, generally speaking, you're going to need to get a closer. So, without further ado, let's just get right into the training. How do you actually make that happen? What are the steps? So, as I patiently wait for my whiteboard to load here, basically, there are levels to this. Okay. So, generally speaking, you're going to go like this. So, this first step is usually 0 to 30K. Here is 30 to 100. And then here is going to be 100 plus. What are some things that you need to know before you actually dive into finding a salesperson? Well, first one is going to be the quality of closer that you're able to attract. Okay. So, quality of closer, you want A players. Okay. So, you're not going to be attracting A players if you're under 100K. You can get closers, but they'll probably not be like unicorn closers. So, they're not going to be people that are just going to come in and crush it. And the reason why is because they want to earn more than 10K per month. And most likely, the things that are holding you back from being at 100K per month right now, you have to fix those first. And so, what are the things that you need to fix? Well, your systems, which we're going to get into here in a second. Your systems, your current close rate, like you as the owner, generally, like if you can't get to 100K per month by yourself, like you got to fix the systems first for selling. Okay, so here they are. I think of this like a race car that you're essentially building out. Okay, so hopefully you like my little race car here. So right now, I'm guessing that you probably have a few things going for you. You have an offer, which you're selling for some high ticket price, maybe at least 5K, if not more. You have a way to get leads. Ideally, it's scalable. You can spend more money to get more leads. Maybe you have a setter. Maybe you don't. Maybe you're setting the calls yourself. Maybe you're doing DMs, whatever. You might have a CRM where you can track people. But like, what are the things that are going to go into having a system where it's like a race car? A good closer can just step right in and start racing that car. That's what we're talking about here. So, first things first, a huge problem that I see is business owners, they sell not based off like a process, they usually sell based off their personality. They pitch based off their personality. Everything depends on the business owner and their personality. And as soon as they stop taking sales, if they try to bring on another closer, it's like, oh, hey, just watch my calls and do what I do. It never works. Why? There's many reasons. But when we look at your offer itself, this is like super zoomed out. When we look at your offer and the pitch, that needs to be dialed in. You can't just have a pitch that you're winging and expect somebody to just jump in your race car and pitch the same way as you and therefore close the same way as you. You need to have $1 million pitch. What's $1 million pitch? All right, so it's going to be annoying. First things first, $1 million pitch is something that anyone can take the right prospect through this, the same pitch, most likely the same pretty much 95% the same as the owner, and the prospect gets it and they buy. In other words, it's repeatable. It's clearly explaining the process of how you help somebody. It's building value in what you do. It's making the price that you charge seem very small in comparison to the value. And it's clear. It's also answering objections that are probably going to come up in the prospect's mind. And it's positioning your offer as being unique compared to other offers out there that the prospect is probably aware of. All right. So it's repeatable, clear, builds value, answers. I'm going to have to make this bigger. That's what she said. Answers objections. And it's essentially, this is like the engine of your race car. Oh yeah, makes your price seem small. So here's the thing: if your discovery is good, but you're still getting objections at the end of your call, I need to think about it. Oh, I got to go and talk to my wife, who probably doesn't even exist. The reason why is most likely because your pitch just sucks. Okay, it is what it is. Sure, there's stuff we could talk about in the sales process. This is the next thing. So many business owners, like, you have to get your close rate up. Like your close, look at this. Why do I keep doing this? Let's do this. You have to get your close rate up, right? Ideally, let's call it 40 to 50%, right? If you can start closing 40 to 50% of your leads, number one, your business is going to print. You're going to be able to go from the small level here, 30K to 100K, a lot faster. You're going to have more money that you can put back into ads. Your marketing is technically going to work better. And you can basically show closers what you're doing to make sales, right? So the things that are going to directly improve your close rate are what? I mean, number one is having the right discovery. Obviously. By the way, the $1 million pitch, you can, generally speaking, like, let's say you charge 8K right now. If you have $1 million pitch, you can charge 12. If you charge 12K right now with $1 million pitch, you can charge 18 to 20. You charge 20 right now, you could probably charge 28, 30. That's also the value of $1 million pitch. You're going to be making more money, like, because once you bring on a closer as well, if they're closing less than you, you have to be able to make that up by charging more, right? So when it comes to the economics of your offer. Anyway, so the things that are going to make your close rate go up is a systemized discovery process where you're checking all the boxes. You're not getting all these objections, and you're going deep and all this stuff. Obviously, a lot of my sales training is around this. You also have to work on the state of the driver. You're building this race car here. You have to make sure that the person driving it is if it's a Formula One car, they have to have a Formula One state, right? It's the same thing as if you're going to become a leader of a sales team. I mean, if you're not able to lead yourself and get into a leadership state, you're not going to be able to lead another person, in other words, a prospect, that well. You're definitely not going to be able to lead a team of people, whether it's just one extra person or 10 or 20. And then, like, good luck leading the market, right? So, like, you want to work on your state and make sure that's dialed. Your discovery, dialed. Other things that are going to increase your show, like your close rate specifically. I mean, we could talk about your marketing, your messaging, your pre-call assets, things that warm people up. What exactly are they seeing in your sales process? We can call these, in general, pre-call assets, which will warm up the leads. Most people do not have these. If they do, they suck. Messaging in your ads, are you talking to the right people, or are you talking to brokies? Wondering why you're, not closing that many people. Also, financing options. I mean, these things are important. Another thing is, like, the third wheel here is going to be your cash collections. I actually kind of this one should actually be show rate. This one should be close rate. Whatever. Not that important. These things are all important. Like you do want to actually work on your, I guess, in between here would be your increasing your show rate, which we can talk about in a different video. But ideally, your show rate should be at least 70 to 90%, depending on if you're B2C or B2B. Anyway, you want to also be collecting as much cash. You want a high upfront cash collection margin. So one of the symptoms of having weak closers or being a weak closer yourself is if you have low cash collections. It's also the symptom of there's certain ways that you can price drop your offer, but really in general, it's the standards, it's the internal beliefs of the closer which determine whether you're getting PIFs or whether you're getting 6-month payment plans, right? Like there's a lot we can go into that. Like there's what we call I won't write it all out here with my freaking mouse, but incentive-based pricing. So we can just call it IBP, giving them a reason to pay in full discounts, incentive-based pricing, different things like that, different tactics that you can use to collect more cash up front. There's financing. Obviously, you can get a lot more PIFs if you're financing, if you have financing. Knowing how to actually pitch financing is very important, right? Like you can pitch it the wrong way and people won't want to do it. Pitch it the right way and they'll do it and you'll get more PIFs. Otherwise, you might be collecting like 20% upfront. You want your cash collections to be minimum 50% or more, but ideally you want to be collecting 80 to 100% upfront, because all that money can go back into the engine of this vehicle to generate more traffic. And really the last thing here, you want to talk about generating enough income in the business and opportunities to attract A player closers. It's going to be the back end. It's going to be, so like what happens after the initial period of when they work with you? Do you have an upsell? Do you have a continuation offer? Do you have anything else that you can sell them to make more money? Something that your closer could also potentially sell and make more money. And then on the other hand, having follow-up systems for all the people who had a conversation with you, had a sales call, you made them an offer, but they weren't ready to buy, right? Like ideally you're closing most of these people. Like in general, in my world, like you're either going to have now buyers or later buyers. So like, do you have systems that are actually going to continue nurturing all the people that are later buyers? Right. And so if you're at 30K per month right now, charging, let's say 5 to, let's say 6 to 10K. You get the right pitch, you start charging 10 to 15. I mean, you're automatically making, let's say 30% more with the right pitch. You get your close rate from 25% to 40, 50%. Your ROAS is went up by 2. It is doubled. The biggest thing here is how quickly can you scale your own income and get to the point where you can hand off your whole sales process. Because outside of these are the sales systems. Like if I were to zoom back down here, see if I can do that. Oh, wrong way. All right. Outside of the systems for your sales process, if you want to attract high quality people, well, like how's your lead flow and lead quality? The thing is, like once, like let's say you get to 100K per month. Okay, cool. Now you can attract a decent closer, somebody who's fine making 10K per month. Awesome. And it doesn't take long to get here. It's like one setter. If you just get half decent at closing, you have a high ticket offer, you have lead flow, like you can get there in like 30 days, 45, maybe less, right? The other thing is like, well, do you have enough volume to keep the closer satisfied, to keep them making money, to keep them happy, to keep them busy, right? Like if your volume is up and down, well, that's a thing that once you free up your time from closing, well, then you can focus on the brand, focus on the marketing, focus on the delivery. The whole thing here is scaling your business and getting off the phones. Ultimately, you first have to increase your own capacity to close. And then as you're making more money, you're like, okay, I'm way busier now. Before you get to the point where you're like, okay, I'm so busy that I hate my business and I don't want to do this anymore. That's the time to hire a closer. You know, at first you might want to have them 50% where they take half the calls, you take half the calls until they ramp up, and then they're starting to close higher and higher. And then you feel 100% comfortable to hand off all the calls to them. Like I would not recommend you just give them all the calls from day one. And then the next question is going to be like, well, okay, so when do I start hiring? What do I do to start hiring? Where do I find the people? How do I train them? Like, how do I manage them? Right. And the reason why you want A players is because you don't really have to manage them or train them that much. Like like the type of closer you want, once you hire them, you just put them in the seat. You say, here's all the assets you need to get ramped up, and they just drive, right? Like, but you have to have a vehicle that's attractive enough to get them. Like by the way, if you're at this point of the call, the video, I should say, if you want help doing all of this, building these systems, getting to these KPIs, hiring, managing, training, finding closers or setters, I can help you. If you just shoot me a DM on Instagram at Ben W. Byrne, say, hey, I'm looking to build my sales team. I'm starting to do this. But this is a whole process in and of itself. Number one, you need to have like your own separate pipeline of salespeople. You need to have basically, I would call it like a launch pad or an on-ramp where they can go through a series of trainings and then get up to speed and start closing deals within 2 weeks. And then you need to have a way to manage them and make sure that, like a race car, you have the right drivers in it. My freaking thing's zooming in on me now. You have the right drivers, but just like the vehicle, sometimes they get out of tune. All right, this is going to bother me. I'm going to have to zoom my camera back up. All right, let's go back to this. Jesus Christ. Oopsie. Anywho, back to it. Managing is about, it's like, hey, you need to like fine tune your race cars every now and then, or the drivers, right? So you got to know how to do that. Number 5 is like at what point do you start scaling? At what point do you start scaling the team? You have to know, okay, cool. I got one closer who's in here, who's making good money. I can put my focus into the brand, into my marketing. I can start filling up my calendar. I can start building up my back end of like working with more clients and increasing how many clients we can work with. The business is starting to get smooth now that your time, you've taken back 20 hours a week from your sales calls. Okay, cool. This will get you to the next level. Like, this is once you start. I mean, a good closer can get you to 150 to 300K a month, cash collected in all reality. Let's say you get up to 250. How do you get to 500? How do you get to 750? How do you get to $1 million? When do you hire the next person? When do you at what point do you hire who? In general, like the way you want to think about it is like, okay, if you can get a closer, let's say 4 calls a day, every single day consistently, and he's closing at a decent percentage, something like let's say 30%, 40%, whatever, and you have capacity to fill him up more. I mean, your biggest bottleneck next is going to be, okay, if you go from spending, I don't know, $300 a day on ads to $600, I mean, like he can only take so many calls, and unless you don't want to jump back on the calls, usually it's around that point that you would want to have another closer because you also don't know, like closers, I mean, they can come and go, right? They might find a better offer. They might get sick and tired of your offer. They might, they might just disappear. So you always want to have like a pipeline of people that can come close for you that you can, just insert at certain points of this business. So anyway, let me zoom out of there. That's what I got. So if you're still watching this, you're a business owner and you're like, hey, Ben, like this sounds awesome. I want to get off the phones. I hate closing myself. I'm sick of it. Shoot me a message. I can help you do this. I'm not going to work with like a ton of people. I only have capacity for realistically 3 businesses. So if you are even interested about having this conversation, just shoot me a DM on Instagram and we'll go from there. All right. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions, if you want any further trainings on this, drop a comment below or shoot me a DM on Instagram, and happy to see if I can help. All right. Talk to you later.